Hey, y'all, welcome to a brand spanking new episode of your favorite WNBA show, Around the Rim. That's right, we are back. If you have not heard, we used to be a podcast. We are now a WNBA YouTube show, so make sure you set those notifications. Myself, LaChina Robinson, along with our other host, Terrika Foster-Brasby. I don't like co-host. I think we should just say host and host.
That's fine.
Yeah, we bringing y'all all the WNBA news and information this season. Hopefully you've been enjoying. It is a spicy season. Like, I don't know what to expect or what's going to happen. And so hopefully you guys have been having a lot of fun as well, watching some great basketball. But we got a couple topics to talk about today. And number one involves WNBA player travel safety and someone that we hold near and dear to our hearts. Brittney Griner. T, what's going on?
Yeah, well, in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport on Saturday, Brittney was traveling and a YouTuber approached her. I believe, let me get his name right. His name's Alex Stein. And he approached Brittney Griner with the intention to, it seems to, provoke her into whatever questions he was asking about her loving America and all these other things. And so there was a Mercury security personnel who was there to try to protect her, but accounts from the story from teammates, Brianna Turner was one of the first ones to talk about this on Twitter. But she explained that there was basically this guy who was, making Brittney feel uncomfortable with these comments that were being made. He is someone who is listed as a provocateur because he has a history of doing these kinds of things to provoke people into negative attention. And so since this incident where a police report was filed, and again, there was a security officer there present, but I think the larger conversation has now been, LaChina, number one, what happened to the security that was supposed to be given to Brittney Griner from the beginning, knowing that there might have been potential incidents like this regarding her safety? Number two, what does player safety look like during travel anyway, considering that these women have to travel on commercial flights? And thirdly, how do we move forward? So love to hear your opinion, at least on the first one, in terms of there was put in place at the beginning of this season some type of parameters for Brittney Griner because they knew or had any type of inclination that there would possibly be some people trying to threaten her, harass her, or things like that. And it was told, to my understanding, that she would be given the consideration of charter flights. But I also was told that Brittney, being the team player that she is, said, I don't want to be on a charter flight if my teammates can't be on a charter flight. At least that's the story I heard. So you let me know what your thoughts are just on Brittney's travel safety.
T, I was not happy when this news broke. And you mentioned Brianna Turner's tweet. I want to read this. Player safety while traveling should be at the forefront. People following with cameras saying wild remarks is never acceptable. Excessive harassment. Our team nervously huddled in a corner, unsure of how to move about. We demand better. Again, that's Brittney Griner's teammate, Brianna Turner. This is embarrassing. It's sad. Like, to read a player saying that we were nervously moving about, the word harassment, this should never happen. And for me, there's a few things. Number one is we knew that Brittney's safety was going to be an issue this season. We knew that. The minute she said she wanted to return to play, everyone's first question was, how are we going to best protect her as she travels through this WNBA season? She is 6'9". People make vile and crazy remarks online, so you can imagine what they're going to do if they see her in person. Okay. Yeah. So we knew already that this was going to be something that we needed to be on top of. There were several statements that were released after this event happened from the Players Association, from the WNBA. Brittney's agent, Lindsay Kagawa of Wasserman, was speaking out. So the understanding is all three of these entities had an opportunity to weigh in on what this plan should be for Brittney this season. In my mind, there was no other plan than Brittney needs to be chartered for every WNBA game this season. And if that means Brittney and her team, so be it. There were some rumblings at the beginning of the season about competitive advantage if Phoenix gets to charter every game. So what? So what? You're talking about the safety of a player. And we've had several WNBA players since then come out to say, we want Brittney to charter. Like, we want her to be safe. So it's not even a question of competitive advantage. After everything Phoenix went through last year, if them chartering this year ends in them winning the WNBA championship at the end of the season, then woo, hats off to Phoenix, because that's going to be quite a turnaround. So I was disappointed that there wasn't something better in place. We don't really know how fragile Brittney really is. It can be anything that happens or is said to her that could cause her a mental setback, a spiritual setback, a physical setback. She's vulnerable in these airports and with these people that have whatever opinions they have about Brittney, being released. Now, to forward this conversation into charter flights in general for the WNBA, it is past time. And the Players Association comments, I thought, nailed it. This is not about luxury. This is not about we get to charter and kick our feet up. This is not about, we get to charter and avoid the airport and get our bags taken off the plane. This is about player safety.
Yep.
These women are celebrities. Everyone has their schedule, so they know where they're going to be, what cities they're going to be traveling to and from. May not know the exact time, but if you hang out long enough in the airport, you can pretty much figure it out. And so there are some owners in this league that have spoken up to say, we are ready to provide charters. For those that don't know, the CBA right now prohibits that. But if these owners are ready to step up to protect their players, let them do it. And if everyone doesn't have the funds to do that as an owner, the price of WNBA ownership has gone up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. This league is growing. These women's profiles are growing. And so you got to be able to step up in whatever way. And I'm not saying you just leave them on an island if they can't afford it, but hey, what about some WNBA or subsidies or, some other ways to help to fund those teams that can't do it? But I can count at least 4 or 5. I know for a fact, almost half the league of owners that have said, we can do it. Yeah. Let us do it. And have even been willing to incur fines. So it's time, but it was very, very unfortunate because we never know what one interaction with Brittney could yield for her safety. And that's scary. And it's nothing to play with.
Yeah, LaChina, you really nailed it and summed it up perfectly, because it is disheartening to see that there is still people who don't really understand the gravity of what this league and this team is going through in relations to Brittney Griner. And they're still recovering in terms of it is still an overwhelming feeling to have her present. It is still an overwhelming feeling. And you don't want to feel like you're going to lose her again. And these are the type of situations that could mentally make someone feel like we're going to lose her again. You never know what these people are capable of. That's number one. Number two, I have often questioned what the security is like for these players. I have been in the airport with players before. I ain't never seen no security officers around these players. So let's even remove the fact that we're even talking about Brittney and that we're talking about her specific situation. Just on a general day, who's in the airport with these women? How do we know there aren't people out there with other ulterior motives outside of this situation? And I don't see that there is any active presence. And I did hear that, there are certain teams who have security officers or people who are dressed in plain clothing, but are security for some of these. That's great if that's the case, but it should be league standard. It shouldn't be a team decision or that one owner decides that they feel they want to protect their players while other owners either don't have the option or haven't considered it. It truly needs to be a league standard. So I just think the general idea of player safety during travel is something that needs to be addressed. And if it has not been addressed by now, this situation should have been an eye opener. People do not have the kind of intentions as their appearance. I'm pretty sure this Alex dude may have looked innocent, may have looked like he was just a regular dude in the airport. And it was very clear that his motives were not of that way. So I think you surmised it perfectly. Honestly, we just have to do a better job to continue to press. And when it comes to travel, I am consistently seeing the league make statements and release press releases about how they are partnering with various different airlines and partnering with, different people in the travel sector. What is coming of those partnerships? Like, am I missing exactly what those partnerships entail? Because for me, if the partnership isn't truly about travel and it isn't truly about how these women can be protected during their travel, then what exactly is this partnership bringing? And I say that with my full chest. Like, it's what do we have these relationships with airlines for and with various airports and things for if player safety and better travel accommodations isn't the end goal? So I've got, for real, I feel like I've got more questions than I've got answers. But at the end of the day, we really have to do a better job, or this league has to do a better job of protecting its players. Just a week ago, we were having a conversation about player protection when it comes to, within a team, when it comes to how women are treated from the media, when it comes to how women are treated in terms of trades and all these other things. So the underlying point here is that these women are still not protected in the way that they should be. And that's very problematic.
And bad timing on this, but the league had just signed a deal, to your point, with a tire company. And I was like, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't mean they putting them on the road and about to be driving. Right. But you're right. And there are conflicting reports around what was approved for Brittney versus what was executed. There are a number of people saying that the league said, yes, you guys can charter, and that maybe that wasn't done. So, but we can't afford to not be on the same page about Brittney, if nothing else. So in other news, as we look ahead to WNBA All-Star, voting did tip off Wednesday, June 7th. And just so fans know, you can vote until June 21st for your favorite WNBA All-Star. The game itself will be in Vegas at the Michelob Ultra Arena at the home of the defending champs, Las Vegas Aces, Saturday, the 15th. On ABC. It's in prime time, y'all, 8:30 p.m. And we will also have a special edition of WNBA Countdown leading into that. Friday night will be the fun, the shooting contest, all that stuff. But you can vote on WNBA.com, on the app. You can vote on Instagram. But the conversation I really want to have is, what is WNBA All-Star? Because we get a little bit lost here, okay? People seem to think, and the media is very much responsible for this, and T, I've said this previously, the term all-star indicates like you were selected because you were one of the best in terms of your play on the court that season, right? When we introduce someone, we say, she's a 12-time all-star, and that really means something. Yep. However, when you look at the voting structure, is that really what it means? For example, here is how the votes are tallied. Fans account for 50% of the vote. Current players in media will account for 25% of the vote each. Now, this is for the starters only. Fans get 50% of the vote, which means my mama can get on the app and vote for whoever she wants. And my mother has sent me some real willy-nilly screenshots of her votes that I can tell you, I was like, ma'am, how did she make it on this list? My mother has said things like, well, I like the way she played when she was in college. What this is this year's all. What does that have to do with any of this? And so my point being that fans are going to be fans, and that's great. You love it. And it is for the fans, all-star technically. So, but even good current players getting votes. We've seen some pettiness when it comes to current player votes. I've seen pettiness when it comes to media votes, quite honestly. And so are we really getting the best players, or are in particular the fans voting for who they like? And that's difficult to digest, because there are some people some players that their dream is to become an all-star, and it may not happen just because you didn't go to a more popular university, or you just may not have as many fans, but you out here balling. Now, after that, the coaches take over, so they will pick the 12, the remaining 12 players. I think it's, let me see. Yes, 12 reserves. So the coaches will pick those. And so, T, before I even get to the position thing, how do you feel about what all-star is?
I have felt this way about all-star on all levels, not even just the WNBA, just in general. It is a popularity contest. It has always been a popularity contest. And again, this is for all all-star games, NBA, MLB, WNBA. It's a popularity contest. The moment that I saw, who was it? It's NBA related, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony made an NBA all-star roster and had not played but 2 games all season. And I was completely confused. How did this man make an all-star team? And so I say that to say, when I look at the all-star voting right now, I don't care if y'all call me a homer. I don't care if y'all get mad. I'm going to speak up for my girl because it's messed up. Alyssa Thomas is number 17 on that voting list.
Disgraceful. She
is one of the top 3 players in this league being considered, or at least being discussed, as an MVP candidate. And she is 17th on this list in voting. Why? Because she plays for Connecticut that has an older fan base, because she plays with a style of basketball that maybe y'all don't really like or care for, because there are people who saying, quote, I don't like her, but don't even know her. Like, I understand she's not someone who is the first to run to social media. I understand she's not someone who talks a lot. So maybe you don't really know how to engage with her, or not really sure of her personality. But if this all-star game is about her play on the court, this woman is a walking triple-double. How is she only 17th on this list? I don't understand it, and I never will. And so, to your point, these other factors, she didn't go to this school. She went to Maryland. Maryland ain't a scrub. So, I mean, it's not like, I don't even understand what that would do with anything. But if we're going to make that point, she went to a Power 5 school. So there's that. So she's won overseas. So if that's the thing we're talking about, great. Her team was literally just in the WNBA finals a season ago. So if we're talking about the ability to win, there we go with that. The excuses seem to continue to pile up, but none of them really hold any weight. And so, if this is going to be a popularity contest, then let's just call it that. Who are my favorite players so far this season? That's fine. Let's just call it that. But if we're going to say it's an all-star team, and we're going to talk about how these women have produced a quarter of a way through the season, because that's where we are, then that's where it needs to be. And it just never felt like that. It hasn't been like that. And it's completely, I don't want to sound like a 5-year-old and say unfair, but it just doesn't make sense. If this is what we're going to put the weight in the stock, and, how people could possibly be paid and all these other things based on their all-star appearances and all this other stuff, then we really have to do a better job of how we restructure this all-star vote, because you got players who genuinely deserve to be in the top 10, or at least starting, who are overlooked for the various pettiest reasons, as we've mentioned.
Very well said. And if Alyssa Thomas doesn't end up being a starter, I think that could be the thing that really forces the league to take a look at how this is done. And I used to say that Alyssa Thomas didn't get, and you mentioned all the reasons why sometimes she doesn't get the respect she's owed. But for me, it used to come down to people just don't understand the game. Like, you don't see all the ways that she impacts the game. But now she's putting up the stats, like triple historical stats. So it's not just obvious, it's now blinding you. And I don't understand. Yeah.
Fans complain all the time about their inability to watch basketball games. Am I wrong? They complain all the time about their inability to get certain games on League Pass and about their inability to see this game that's not in this market and this game that's not in that market. So I'm curious to think how we can expect fans to make a very informed decision on who should and shouldn't be all-stars when they don't even get an opportunity to see the game. So all they gonna do is look at the stats and that's it. Some of them don't even have an opportunity to look at the games. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's absolutely true, T. And this might be a message for your Connecticut Sun fans.
Oh, it is.
Where the fan base at?
It is. But can we be real? Can we be real? A lot of the Connecticut fan bases are up in age. And I
don't know, because the Connecticut Husky fans be coming at me on my Twitter account.
That's a whole different conversation for a different day. Connecticut Husky fans is college, and we already need to discuss the differences between the college fan base and the WNBA fan base. But that's a conversation for a different day. But I will say there is some true disparities with Connecticut fans. They are loyal fans. They are dedicated fans. They truly love and put on for their son. But let's be honest, they're up in age. When you go to a Connecticut game, it ain't too many people at the games that's around our age, LaChina, that's younger than us. You get what I'm saying? So you're asking them to go on their cell phones and on these apps and on these websites to do these votings. Some of them might have some trouble with that. I'm just throwing it out there.
This is true. Look, paper ballot, fax in your ballot.
Fax in your ballot.
Email in your ballot. That's where we about to go with this. And just as I mentioned, and I know we're on the same page about this, position wise, take the position out of all-star, 4 guards, 6 front court players for the starters, and for the reserves, 3 guards, 5 front court players, and 4 players at either position, which does give the coaches a little bit more flexibility. But at the same time, nah. Like, I think you should just take the position out of it. We're playing in a positionless game. And that's where we stand. So fans, the captains and the all-star starters will be announced on June 25th. And then the reserves will be announced on July 1st. And I believe there was already some returns on voting, and Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson are leading the voting so far. And Terrika mentioned, that Alyssa Thomas was not in the top 10. A'ja and Breanna Stewart on early return votings are 1 and 2. Brittney Griner is next. Aaliyah Boston, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Satu Sabli, Elena Deladon, Nneka Ogwumike, Arike, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Candace Parker, Sabrina Ionescu, Kalia Copper, Diana Taurasi, and then Alyssa Thomas. So we'll see what happens, but I'm with you, T. Some changes need to be made to travel and to All-Star. And with that, that is our Around the Rim show for this week. Thank you for joining us. You can tweet us at LaChina Robinson. Terrika is at She Knows Sports. And we are now at Around the Rim with no pod on our handle on Twitter. So hit us up there, and we'll see y'all next week.